everyone, welcome back to the Design Duo. Today we have our guest speaker Angie Olson with us, and she is with Lucky Little Learners. We're going to celebrate women in business today, and we thought what a perfect guest to bring on, Angie Olson, because we're going to tell you her story. She's going to tell her story, and it's very empowering for those of you who have been sitting on your dreams or your goals or your aspirations to maybe take that next step and go for it, because you only live once, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So Angie, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. First of all, Angie has been a longtime friend, but it's been incredible just watching you grow as a person. Obviously, I love you dearly. But we want to share your story today. And I think a lot of people in town don't know what Lucky Little Learners is. So start off with who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then where are you located?
Sure. Well, thanks for inviting me on here. This was really sweet of you to even think of me for this. So my name is Angie Olson. I grew up in the area. My husband grew up in the area. His name is Brandon. And we originally actually lived in Bemidji after we left school and left high school, and went to college there, and I got my teaching job there. I taught kindergarten and first grade there, and then we decided to move home because home was calling. My husband was actually working in Detroit Lakes, and I was still in Bemidji for a while. And when our daughter Molly was born, it was way too hard to keep that going. So we decided to move back home, and that's when I got my second grade teaching job in Frazee. And that's where my most recent teaching job was, but eventually transitioned over into full-time with Lucky Little Learners when we are located at 839 Washington Avenue.
So they are right in the building of the Norby Flats building, located towards the back, kind of by Allure, behind Manna.
Yep.
Just so you guys all know, and it's a private office.
Yeah, there's no storefront, and that's probably why a lot of people don't know about us, because our business that we do isn't necessarily local. Our business that we do is really all over the world, and so everything is online. Therefore, we don't have a need for anybody to walk in and be a customer.
Yep.
So.
But it's styled very well. I must say, it's absolutely gorgeous in there.
Thanks,
and you've got
guys.
really big tables and your whole setup and office. And whenever Sky showed me your office for the first time and walked in there, I was like, holy moly, I didn't even know this thing was here. Mm-hmm. So it's really incredible to hear your story from start to finish. And essentially, you guys built this from the ground up.
Yeah.
Lucky Little Learners.
Oh,
so tell us a little bit more about what drove you or made you feel like there was a need for this business, and what exactly does your business do?
You start off with the basement.
The basement.
Guy knows this whole story, by the way, so she's feeding.
I'm inspired. I've been, I go to Angie for quite a few things as far as advice and so on and so forth, because she's inspired me as a person and individual too. So.
Well, it all started when I was in Bemidji teaching kindergarten and first grade, and I love to write, and so I was actually just simply blogging about teaching ideas and things I was doing in my classroom. And what I was finding as I was doing some of this writing is that other teachers would comment on those blog posts, and they would say things like, I love that idea, where can I get that? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's not really, I wasn't selling anything at the time. And eventually that led to me just creating free stuff, and they could download the digital file on the blog. And I was like, okay, that works and that as a hobby, it worked great. I felt really good because I was able to support teachers, and that's what I love to do. I love to connect with other teachers, and teaching's hard. And so that's one of those ways that I was able to give back to the profession that is in need of so much support. And so that's how it started. And then eventually it became something where all of those freebies and all the blog writing was becoming more and more of a need. And I was finding myself spending more and more time. Fast forward, like I said, we moved back home to Detroit Lakes area, and we couldn't sell our house in Bemidji, and we were just barely making ends meet, and still paying a mortgage up there, and money was extremely tight. And found ourselves living in my in-laws' basement, which I will say is not fun, although I'm very thankful for the roof over our heads. But we had a baby. We had a baby at the time, and that was hard. And it was hard. And so I remember sitting in the recliner of my in-laws' basement and I remember thinking to myself, I need more. Like, this can't be where we are at. Like, I need to dig out of this. And my husband and I were putting together all kinds of thoughts and trying to all the kinds of things we could think of. And it just hit me. I was like, I can take all these things that I'm making and like beef them up and make them even bigger and then actually sell them. And so that's what I did. I tried back in 2000, well, my daughter was born. It was around like 2010, 11, 12, I don't know, somewhere in there. I put a file up on a website called Teachers Pay Teachers and just thought, why not? Let's just see. And I remember at the time it was really scary to even think about purchasing a premium seller account because it was $50. And in order to get more than 20% commission on something that you made from scratch, you had to pay for a premium account. And I remember talking to my husband about it and saying, like, can we do this? Like, can we? And at the time it was a big ask. We were like, I don't, how soon can you make that 50 back? Like, we didn't have the money to even have the $50 for the premium membership. So anyways, long story short, that started to come in. It wasn't fast. It was very slow, but it was exciting because it started off as, how can I help pay my bills, to how can I help pay my bills and get a Caribou cup of coffee? And then it just grew eventually to where we're at today.
So now that's incredible, because I want to know more about where you're at today. How many employees do you have, and are they nationwide? Are they worldwide? I know you're selling worldwide to teachers all over. What grades are you selling to?
Yeah, so we are currently employing 23 people. Half of them are full-time salary positions all over the nation, which is really fun and challenging at the same time, right? All of them are teachers, all of them women, all of them highly educated and incredibly smart and talented, and I love them all so much. We are selling worldwide. So, yep, we've got our curriculum in Australia and England and everywhere. You know, it's really fun because teachers like to share what they're doing in their classrooms on social media. And so oftentimes they'll share pictures of, you know, Toothy in Australia. And I just think, gosh, it's crazy to see.
So cool.
Oh, it's so cool.
That gives me goosebumps to even, because I've never heard your story. I knew that you guys kind of like started this from nothing, and I knew that you were a teacher, but to sit here and to listen to all this, I'm kind of like flabbergasted that, I mean, to hear someone else's story and to know that you took a leap of faith and you had that motivation from your husband and you guys were like, well, we got to give it a go, you know? And it's like having the support behind you in order to make a hard decision that you didn't know if it was going to be successful or not, but you had great feedback and you had a great group of people behind you through your blogs and something that was a hobby that turned into something that supports your whole family. Like, you're incredible.
Well, thank you.
Oh my gosh.
I was going to say, though, in all honesty, what you mentioned, my husband being supportive, and that is the only way I can do what I'm doing. Like, I know this is women empowerment.
Yeah.
And we're talking about how amazing women are, and we are, and that's just the truth. But it's so much easier to do it when you've got a spouse that backs you with 100% support and love. And I couldn't do what I do today without his support, and that's just facts.
And Brandon was able to leave his previous full-time position to come work full-time with Angie at Lucky Little Learners. And then, so grade-wise, you sell curriculums for what grade levels?
Yep. Primarily first and second grade, although we do have kindergarten and third grade resources as well.
Okay. And she's huge into social media too. So tell us all about the social media aspect of your business and how that helps you grow.
Sure. So we are on all social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. We're pretty much everywhere. YouTube, TikTok, all the places.
I know I see the TikTok ones. So
do you? And we've been growing that following slowly over time. And it is substantially, you know, to decent size. We reach a lot of teachers, and we're able to have a lot of impact because we can reach so many. And everybody comes into us in different ways. And it started with social media, but then eventually we learned it's, you know, not good to build your business on rented land, meaning don't rely on social media to, you know, build your business and contact your customers. And so then that's when our email list came into place and our text list came into place and all these other things, so that we can have a direct connection with them and we're not relying on, the algorithm or whatever. But yeah, we're able to reach a lot of teachers on our social media accounts.
So how many full-time staff members do you have just on social media marketing position?
Actually, that only has a team of, 3, but then we have a lot of video and photo content creators as well. So we have a social media manager that is full-time. She's also our affiliate manager. And then we have someone that's just dedicated to Instagram. We have somebody that responds to Facebook, all the posts and the comments and the questions and all that. And then we have a couple video content creators, a couple photo content creators. So
wow,
kind of just depends on how involved,
Yep.
Wow.
Super impressive.
And behind the scenes, it's a huge thing to commemorate the fact that you stand behind your team and you have grown this, and they have so much respect for everything that you've put into it. But I want to ask you, because just witnessing Sky and the growth of Design to Sell and Allure and seeing the whole journey unfold and everything, there are some speed bumps that you encounter, and there are some things that you learn the hard way. And we've learned things the hard way too. So I guess the major thing is you have a great support system. You talked about that. I mean, is there anything that you feel like you learned the hard way and you wish that there were more resources or more of a outlet for you to discuss those things or kind of get through that?
I feel like this is a really long list, so just cut me off when it's
Okay,
time
good.
to move on. Because there's so much.
There has to be.
Yeah.
In order to grow.
There is. I mean, I think back, I wish I would have moved my business out of my house sooner and off the kitchen table.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because that interferes with family time, which is obviously priority. So I wish I would have done that sooner. I wish I would have hired sooner. When I started, I was getting up at an ungodly hour, doing my work with Lucky Little Learners, and then going and putting in my full-time job and giving that 100%, get home, caffeinate, start again, and do the PM job, back to Lucky Little Learners, and go home late and try to be a mom and a wife and all the things. And I just think, I look back on those days, and now especially I'm trying so hard to focus on like self-care and professional development and all the things. And I look back and I'm like, that was such a crazy time. But at the same time, I know it was an important time to go through, to feel the hard and experience the challenges, and also learn how to do everything for the most part, so that when I start to hire, so again, hiring sooner, when I started to hire, then I, can help them to get to where they need to be as well, and what I'm training them to do and all of that.
100%. You have to put in that work up front on your own in order to get things off the ground and going. And if you don't do that, that's, I think, another whole issue, is because you have to put in that time. You have to put in that hard work right up front to get things off the ground. And you have to be determined and dedicated in order to get anywhere.
Yeah. Well, and hiring doesn't equal easier. It's just different, right?
Hiring equals harder.
It can be harder, for sure. Yes.
Employees can be a challenge just in every direction, because you just have more people to manage and communicate with and all the things, but puts you in a different role completely.
Well, and that's another challenge, right? I didn't go to business school. I don't have a business degree. I'm a teacher. That's what I've always wanted to do. I have a passion for kids and teaching, and now I'm in this role as a company owner and finding myself having to make decisions where I'm like, gosh, I wish I would have went to college for some of this. Now the nice thing online is we have all these opportunities to go take courses and learn from all these places, which obviously I'm doing constantly, but it sure would have been nice to have a little bit of a business degree background.
Yeah. But you've got a great team, and you're really good with your team. I remember visiting with you not that long ago, and I feel like you had said you had 12 employees, which was impressive. I mean, now 23. I mean, wow, Ange. Yeah. So I want to go back to the list of selling this curriculum, which is downloaded curriculum that teachers can use everywhere across the entire world. What are some countries that you do sell to overseas?
Yeah, we sell a lot to Australia. We sell a lot to anywhere over in Europe. Honestly, we have a lot of customers in those European countries. Canada is a big one. In fact, we've actually found a lot of our resources are having to be converted over into like Canadian money and some of those Canadian spellings. Same with the UK, like they spell certain words differently. And so we have to translate some of our resources. And then we're actually finding an increase in the number of Spanish-speaking teachers wanting to get our resources. And a lot of our things are editable, but ideally we would figure out a way to get them in Spanish. And so that's something that will eventually come down the road for us so that we can be more inclusive to other, places like that. But yeah, in Australia too, same thing, different spellings of their words. And so we do have some Australian versions of some things, but
wow.
Yeah, it's neat.
That's incredible to to hear how something started from like, I'm in my classroom blogging in between my courses and things like that. And then you go home and you're like talking to these people. To watch it blossom into something where it's worldwide, and then you have
living
these
in
people.
a basement.
Yes.
Was it
Oh
even
my
finished?
gosh.
It wasn't a finished basement.
No,
that's what I thought.
It was a big open concrete room with no walls and
Just a little bit of furniture.
Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely not the cozy abode that you would want.
No.
For sure.
With a newborn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard. But
Wow.
and that's the thing though, is I look back on them like, I don't regret any of that though, because it makes us really appreciate all these little things that
100%.
There is nothing better than starting from the bottom up and building it yourself, knowing that you did that. And I think that's a thing too, is like, it's easy to judge somebody until you've been in their shoes. And if you're doing it on your own, you're not getting anything handed to you. You've done this, Angie. And you should be really proud. Yeah, you've done this. You're where you are right now because of your hard work and yours and Brandon's, supportiveness and all the things. And that's huge. Nobody handed you anything to get started. So you have to appreciate people like that in today's world that do it on their own because they decided that one day they were going to do it, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
So you should be really proud of that. I know one thing that you and I talked about before too was you're getting your first sales. So you got like a little notification on your phone. Is that correct?
You have a good memory.
Tell us about that.
I remember sitting in a restaurant in Frazee with my father-in-law and my husband, and we were getting, I think, lunch. And at the time, my app for Teachers Pay Teachers was on my phone and my notifications were on because I was just waiting for the first sale to come in. I hadn't experienced the first one yet. And the notification on the phone, at least at the time, was like a cha-ching, like a cash register.
Yep.
And it did it. And for the first time, and I screamed, and everybody turned and looked, and my husband's like, what, did you just get a sale? I'm like, I got a sale. And I'm like, almost like crying. And my father-in-law's like, wow, like, what did you sell? Like, this is like seeing my reaction.
Yeah.
And then I said, I just sold a resource. And he's like, well, geez, how much did you make? And it was like 80 cents. Because I hadn't purchased the premium membership yet. So I was getting 20% of the sale.
Oh my goodness.
That's amazing.
But that was enough to light the fire. Like, okay, this could go. Like, I think I could do something with this. Like, it was just like that little glimmer of hope that just kept you lit.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that. And so now curriculum, let's talk about that for a minute. So you've had some curriculum. Now you're continuing to constantly create new curriculum, correct? So who does all the creating? I mean, is that a team effort? Is that strictly you? How does that work?
It started off with me way back. My master's degree is in math, so I gravitated towards creating math resources. But eventually, as I started to hire on, one of my first hires was somebody by the name of Elaine. And I'm really excited to be able to just give her a shout out because she is my rock when it comes to Lucky Little Learners. She is my co-pilot.
And where does she live?
She lives in Utah.
Okay.
And she's been with me for a very long time. And she started actually as just like helping with our Facebook group as an admin member and like approving new members and monitoring, comments and whatnot. Quickly escalated, got her into some bigger roles. She has moved into a curriculum manager position, operates a team of, I want to say just her alone has 8 full-time, part-time people. They're making full out curriculums. We've done an entire first grade math curriculum, entire second grade math curriculum. They're working on science and social studies.
Wow.
Writing is coming. We have SEL.
Gosh.
It's crazy.
I mean, this is intense. It's insane. So Elaine manages 8 of your people.
something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yes.
She's phenomenal, and
Okay.
she's actually moving into
Which way to
delegate.
thank
That's
you.
hard.
Delegate, because that is hard as a business owner to
Yeah.
be able to put that trust into somebody to do that.
Well, your name's on it.
Yeah.
And I trust her 100% fully, just because I know she actually, I've always heard this in leadership: hire better than what you can do, and be okay with it being done better than what you could do. And I remember, like, oh gosh, like I feel like I'm the keeper of the keys. I know how to do all these things, and learning really quickly, like it's not actually holding you back by feeling like you are the one, the knower of all the things, and the best at things. And Elaine is far superior to me in terms of curriculum, for sure. She's amazing.
Wow. That's
So whenever you first started, I'm kind of curious, because this is really catapulted everything to become as large as it is from the very start. But whenever you first started, was there a specific niche that you felt that needed to be fulfilled, and that was kind of like what spearheaded this whole thing?
Yeah, I started with second grade math.
Okay.
Yeah, with my master's in math, I was just like, I love teaching math. I love seeing the kids light up. I love when math is taught hands-on. I wasn't in school, in high school, I hated math, ironically. And then when I went to college, I had a professor that was absolutely amazing with teaching math. And I was like top in the class, and I'm like, that's unheard of, because in high school I hated math. Anyways, long story short, I fell in love with math because of this different way of teaching it and having it hands-on. And then I was creating resources then for math for second grade, because I was teaching second grade at the time, and that's where I'd started. And then it just kind of expanded from there. Once we filled the math need, at the time filled the math need, then we were being asked for literacy and all these other things. And then it built. Yeah, so our resources are, when I say resources, I mean anything that can be used in the classroom. That is anything from center activities to task cards to assessments to exit tickets to worksheets. We have digital games, you name it, we pretty much make it. And our goal really is to make learning fun, because we feel like when learning is fun, then the mastery happens. And so that's really where a lot of our curriculum is infused with, is the fun.
Another good question for you. Would you say that Lucky Little Learners is the top selling curriculum for that grade level in the United States?
That's a bold question.
I know.
I'd like to say so, but I mean, I'm also, I don't know, I'm a humble person, and I will say, like, there are some really phenomenal second grade sellers out there, and the market of TPT sellers, and we're not as much on Teachers Pay Teachers anymore. Now we have our own membership site and whatever, but there's a lot of really talented people out there. I'd like to say that we are the best, because we have high standards, and we have amazing curriculum, and we
Are
have
you the biggest?
results. Probably.
Yeah. I mean, look at what you did.
Wow.
I feel funny saying that.
I mean, you should be proud.
It's okay to recognize your
But I
your
do have to
success.
say, Angie is the most down-to-earth, humble person. She grew up in Frazee, correct? She's got a beautiful family. Her parents, everything. And you just can't meet a nicer person. I'm not just saying that because I love you, but in general, you're just that kind of a person. And that makes you even more beautiful than what you already are, in all honesty.
You're sweet.
So working hard, and anybody can do this. So if you're at home and you're thinking of a goal, and I want to use Heidi from Nature's Embrace Soap Company for a minute, because
Love Heidi.
she took this talent that she had and what she
As
was
a hobby.
good at.
Yeah.
Yes. And she turned it into a business also. And there's just so many women in our community. I could go on and name a ton of them that have done this. And so today I really hope that everyone can learn from different experiences and be inspired and take those talents that you have or dreams that you have and take that next step, knowing that it's going to take a lot of work to get there. But if you can make it your job into like a passion, your passion into a career is what I'm trying to say, then, I mean, you're going to live happily ever after, essentially. Correct?
Oh, I believe that to be true. And like you said, there's so many women, so many beautifully strong, powerful women in our community that are serving so many needs out there that it's just so cool to watch. I think our community is really unique in that. Heidi being one of them. And I think when you align your passion with what you're determined to do, it's all aligned. And I think chasing that passion and chasing that dream is needed. Like, that's needed in the world. You are filling some kind of a need of some kind. And if you don't do that, if you don't pursue your dream, you're actually doing a disservice to the world. So if you look at it that way, like, you better not be holding yourself back.
And you don't know, I mean, unless you try too, right? So a lot of people are afraid of failure, and they're afraid to try, and the fears overcome what they're actually capable of doing, and you might fail, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's life, right? You might fail, and that's all right. But how do you know unless you try?
Yeah. Well, and there's a quote that's out there that's like, if your goal, how is it? If your dreams aren't big enough, or, let's see, if your dreams don't scare you,
Yes.
they're not big enough.
Yes.
Like, oh, that's so good.
I remember you saying that to me when I first started Design to Sell.
Do you?
To be honest with you, you said that to me. I was so worried. I was so scared. So afraid. Is it going to make it? Is it not? Am I going to do the right things? And am I going to be working hard enough? You're hardest on yourself, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You are hardest on yourself. So you put all the pressure and all the stress and all the things on yourself to do what you need to do. And you're absolutely right. It's like, yes, I'm deathly afraid of doing
And that's
this.
when you know it's right.
Yes.
When you're doing it for yourself too, I have to say, just from like watching and hearing how you guys talk about everything, two things. For one, when you're doing what you absolutely love and it's a passion, you want to give everything you absolutely have to make sure that it does succeed. And you will bend over backwards, talking about like what you guys had to do, and you were working the crack of dawn, and then you would go to work and work full time. And it's like, it was a hard time, but you have to go through the hard times to get to the good times.
Yeah.
All of that is required in order for it to be built and have a structure behind it that you can fall back on if something doesn't go right. So if you do what you love, it's not going to feel like a dead-end job that you have to get up for and you're straining your life for. It's going to feel like you're building something that means something, that makes a difference.
Like, Mondays no longer suck.
Yes.
There's a good quote. Mondays no longer suck.
Yes. Yes.
Exactly. So thank you so much for joining us, Angie. Do you have anything else that you want to tell people about your story? I want to say one more thing. I want you to answer one more question, if you're all right with that.
Sure.
I want to know, what is your life like today?
Oh, gosh.
What is your life like today? Because I've seen you grow. I've seen you purchase your dream home. You are able to travel. I know this isn't helping your humbleness here, but I'm proud of you, and you should be proud of yourself because you've built this. Okay. So, you built this, you dreamed this, you did this, and you are living the best life you could have right now. And so tell us about that.
I love my life. I do. One of my big whys when I started all of this, my husband was time bound to his job, and he wanted to coach, and he wanted to volunteer, and he wanted to get in the classroom help out with my daughter, and I'd same thing. And I think back to like why we started this, besides wanting to serve and support teachers, absolutely, but we also wanted a flexible schedule, and we wanted to put our family as number one, and so therefore that's also part of our why. And so I guess when you look at our life now, what does it look like? It's a beautiful life because it's flexible, and we aren't, we have the freedom to, travel, and we have the freedom to, host different things for people, and, we can give back in the ways we want to give back without having a boss saying, well, no, you can't leave because you've got to be here for your job or whatever. It's just, there's so much freedom in it, and that to us brings happiness.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to add, Roxy?
I just love Angie.
I love you girls.
I love you. And I'm so glad that you came on with us, because seriously, you deserve a shout out for everything that you've created, and more people should know. And we'll make sure that people know how to connect with you.
Yeah.
And
I think there's just a lot of people in town, like I said, that know Angie, but they don't fully understand what Angie does.
no.
Or what her business is about. So I think today was really good to teach people what you're about and what Lucky Little Learners is about, and just to go after it.
Yeah.
Really. So
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this.
yes, thank you for being you, and we hope that her story inspired any of you watching to chase your dreams. And thanks for watching the Design Duo. Have a great day.